come on 11th house? Did we talk about that already?
It's part of sexuality.
Uh-huh.
It'll influence it.
Capricorn.
We need to put the guru on our head again after the topic.
After that, after Venus was there, huh? Okay. Let's sit upright. And so relates to Brahma. So as we say meditate on Brahma. Brahma has 4 heads. And you know what Brahma looks like? You've seen Brahma, right?
Yeah.
See a 4-headed guy who's floating in a lotus, okay? As we meditate on in the heart, meditating on Vishnu, holding the discus. In the third eye, meditating on Shiva. And then the full Om going, starting from below, going all the way up and ending on the crown. Om Jum Sa Vyam Vyasa Deva Sa Jum Om. Okay. Dashamsha. Dasha means 10. Amsha, division. So the chart divided into 10. There's only one Dashamsha. Lucky, right? Not that many aspects of career that we, need to divide it up that much. So, Karaka planets. Let's see. Okay, first we look a little bit at the Rashi chart. Just like with the Navamsha, we looked at Venus first to get an idea. The analogy I use is when you drive your car into the mechanic looks at what kind of car you have before he opens the hood. He doesn't not look at the hood, not look at the make of the car. He should know that it's a Mercedes-Benz and then look. Know that it's a Toyota and look, because how he's going to look at the engine of a Toyota versus a Mercedes-Benz are going to be slightly different. So we look at the Rashi first, even though it's that external level. And in the Rashi, we look at the 10th Lord and where it's placed. And any planets in the 10th house. And that'll give us a general idea of what the person thinks about career. And how the person is applying themselves towards career. All that based on houses and planets that we've discussed previously. Then, further analysis, we look at the 11th house from the Aruda Lagna. What do we see in the 11th house from the Aruda Lagna?
The gains from your efforts. From the Aruda Lagna.
From the Aruda Lagna.
Right. How your money will come in. How it appears to come in.
Ooh.
Okay.
Your money comes through.
Okay.
So if Moon is 11th from Aruda Lagna, then mothers will be ones who bring the money to you. So we look at the quality, what type of person is bringing us the money.
This is in the D1 still, right?
Yeah. So for me, I have Saturn 11th from Rudra Lagna. So older people. So I just keep that in mind before I even look at the Dashamsha. Older people will be more older people or people with chronic disease will be more monetarily beneficial for me.
Son.
So if I have if my Dashamsha says work with medicine, do I work with mothers or do I work with chronically ill people?
Chronically ill people.
Chronically ill people, because if I work with mothers, I might be good and I might help them, but I won't make any money at it.
Oh.
Okay, so we look at who makes us money before we go and we differentiate too much. So that's why we need to know what's happening in that 11th from Aruda Lagna. That's the key. Then we look at the skills the person has from the Navamsha. What are they good at? If we see moons in the 6th and we see something about performance in the Dashamsha, that they should be a performer, we don't want to say, oh, be a singer. We want to see what their skills are, so when we see that they're a performer, we can tell them to do the right kind of performance. So we look at the skills. So we want to know how they can make money, what are their skills, and what's their attitude towards career. Then we go to the Dashamsha, right? I listed a few other things here, but they're not things that we need to cover too much. We'll just focus on those key aspects. Karaka planets. 10th house has 4 Karakas. What are they?
Mercury, Saturn.
What's the sun? Why is the sun Karaka at the 10th?
Status.
So that's big balance. Huh?
Yeah, but why is it a Karaka for career?
Shows.
Authority.
Status, authority, respect. Yeah, and position. Power and position. Position relates to power. It's a
Right.
Why Saturn?
Hard work. It shows the
That's just
hard
a hard
work.
work.
Not just your hard work, but just your effort and labor in general. If sun is not well placed in the Dashamsha, then it shows it hurts the ability to attain a high position. If Saturn is not well placed in the Dashamsha, it hurts the ability for the person to put enough work in to be successful. If Saturn's afflicted in there and not well placed, then the person's just they're not working enough they won't rise because, they're not working hard enough to rise. Then we have Jupiter. What's Jupiter? Why is Jupiter a Karaka?
That's the money-making ability.
Money-making ability, growth, what else?
Dharma.
This is
Your
Arthur trying.
intelligence is related to your career.
That's key.
Okay.
All the others are good too, but because we need to have some knowledge that we apply. If we're doing something that, the person can't remember what they're supposed to do and they have to be told every time, they don't get very far along in their job. So they need some, strong, knowledgeable, they need some deed, they need to understand what they're doing. And then the most important Karaka in the Dashamsha is Mercury. And why?
Mercury represents business and it's having a desire to do business things.
Business things, definitely. What else? Communication, definitely important. Don't know many careers that you don't communicate with people, right? In some way or form. Yeah, never heard of a rich hermit, definitely.
Howard Hughes. Yeah.
What's he do though? How's he make money?
Well, he did stuff in the beginning, then he became a hermit at the end.
Okay, in the end.
He made money when he did stuff.
He did stuff, right?
Yeah.
He did sleep around too.
What else? Mercury.
Being able to learn skills.
To me that's the most important one, skills. All those are correct, everything you've said, but skills as well. That, when Mercury is afflicted in the chart, the person has a hard time acquiring the skills needed to succeed. The more skills we have, the more we get paid. Okay, so we have to analyze those Karakas. Remember, that's the first thing we analyze. So we analyze the Rashi, then we analyze the Karakas. Then we go to the Karaka Bhava. Karaka Bhava for Dashamsha?
10th house.
You sure? It was a trick question.
Sixth house.
Well, I don't know. I mean, that was my next choice. I mean, if it's not the 10th house,
If
it's
it's
got
not
to
the
be the 6th house.
Are you sure? $20.
Well, wait.
Take it or leave it. I'm gonna stick with that story.
That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
I just want to see how confident you were about it.
Well, I mean, I do have moon in the 3rd house in my Rashi chart, so.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. I know, I don't have any problem piping up and like cracking jokes.
But the thing is, what do you have in the 6th?
Jupiter.
Jupiter.
Oh,
So it
he's nice
benefits
then.
both.
He's nice on all
Way
levels.
too nice.
Way too nice. They just walk all over me.
That's why that guy wanted to.
That's why he wanted to like scoop me up and take me
Yeah.
in. No,
Okay. Page 21, we got a little chart here. And it's in the Karka Bhava section of the Dashamsha. So 10th house, any planet in the 10th house shows what abilities, the significations of that show what can make you successful in career. Any planet there. I have Jupiter there, so teaching, wisdom, knowledge, anything working with this kind of stuff. Now the next two important houses here are the 6th and the 7th. Because the 7th is the 10th from the 10th. And what's the difference between the two?
Between which two?
6th and the 7th.
Well, the 7th is the Marika for the 6th. Well, 7th is Kama and 6th is Artha. No? What's the difference? 6th is a upachaya. It grows over time. And the 7th is a quadrant, so it indicates more like action.
The 7th is 10th from the 10th.
Isn't it Bhavam?
Oh,
Yeah,
6th is
well.
9th from the 10th.
Is 9th from the 10th, showing supporting career.
Oh.
And the 7th is 7th from the 10th, or 10th from the 10th, showing career in itself. And so the reason that 7th house has so much connection to business is because it's 10th from the 10th, and this shows business and business interaction. The 6th house is, and we're going to be integrating from Lagna from the, it's from the 10th house is the 9th house from, showing it's what protects the career. From the Lagna, it's the 6th house, so it shows service, labor. So the first thing when we look at the D10 and for rectification of the D10 is, are there more planets in the 6th or the 7th? There's more planets in the 7th, the person goes off and works for themselves. They start their own career. More planets in the 6th, the person does service and works for other people. That's the first rule of thumb.
What if it's the same number?
Then look which ones are stronger and use dashas. Because in some dashas they'll work for people, in other dashas they'll work for themselves. And that'll be according to the planets.
Wow, it's true.
Yeah, why?
Because, well, I got Rahu in the 11th house in Dashamsha,
Mm-hmm.
and I own my own business.
In the 11th, though.
Well, but isn't that, that's gonna,
We're talking about the 7th house.
The 6th and 7th.
but then
Making up
Mars,
some rules again.
what's
What's in the 6th and what's in the
But
7th?
that's 6th from
what's
the
in the 6th? Jupiter, I went into, and then Jupiter's in the 6th.
Jupiter's in the 6th, what's in the 7th?
Nothing.
Nothing.
So you work for other people.
I work for other people.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
you were saying you have your own business.
But I did. I had my own business in Rahu.
In Rahu.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's part of the same trine, isn't it?
He's aspecting.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it only lasted in Rahu. It's because
I
it's
did. I went into Jupiter period, and I like flubbed up, man. I ended up moving out of the town where I was living, and I moved to San Francisco, and
So we see the during the Rahu Dasha, Rahu made the 7th house stronger.
Yeah.
by aspect, and so there was business. But come Jupiter Dasha, the sixth house is stronger, which it naturally is stronger, and you gravitate it to service. Okay. So that's the two important things, and that's the primary thing we use for rectification. The fourth house in the Dashamsha shows the office or the workshop, where the person works. It's the home relative to work. If there's exalted planets there, the person has an incredible office. Malefics there, they have problems at the office.
How about debilitated planets?
Debilitated planets in the Dashamsha are good for making money.
Why?
Have you ever met a good salesman who was 100% honest?
Yeah, actually.
A good salesman. Your average good salesman
Different story.
needs to be able to bend the truth a little bit to fit the situation.
Spin it.
Spin the truth. The ability to spin the truth, the ability... I mean, if you look at the average product that you will get rich off of, it needs to be like markup at least 10 times. Now, if you're a strong, good planet, you'll say, you know, I need to give people, I can't mark it up more than 10 times. That's like 5 times is enough. I got to give people a good deal. And so you only mark it up 5 times and you give people a good deal and you'll never be rich. Debilitated planet says, you know, I can mark this thing up 30 times, man, and they'll never know. I can make a killing off of them. And, it does so. So debilitated planets are good for making money. Other things, it's, you know, kind of, it's not the best for character, but it's great for money. And it'll show, you know, because ideals, exalted planets are idealistic. And they show, you know, a higher level of ideals. The person, you know, they can't work at that company because that company creates certain chemicals that, you know, they don't believe in, and so they won't work there. Even though the company's offering them, you know, 30,000 more a year than where they're working right now. That's an exalted planet. Debilitated planet says, ooh, they'll pay me 30,000 more? Sure. That's debilitated planets. They guaranteed to make more money.
Because they lack ethics.
Not they lack ethics, they're just, you know...
I have an exalted planet, my fourth, and
Exalted planets are good for money too.
Mhm.
But
Well-
they're idealistic with, and they'll make money though idealistically.
Hmm.
It's the in-between planets that, you know, waver various ways.
Mhm.
But you know, I have, in this particular, the D10, I've got a debilitated sun.
In-
I've never been able to mark up anything.
In which house?
In the third house.
In the third house. Now the third house, it's the house of journeys, right? Short journeys. And it's the sixth house from the 10th. So what that shows is the small vacations we take from work. That shows the small journeys we take. That's the time off we have. So an exalted planet in a house like that is not making money. An
You
exalted
mean
planet like
debilitated.
a debilitated or a
That's
planet
not
there
making-
is showing you enjoy taking plenty of time off.
I do.
And you enjoy lots of short journeys in between, and you enjoy a job where you can do that.
I do.
And
Really.
so that planet there, it's showing that when your lack of idealism, you know, for a very idealistic career motive would be, you know, every day, open certain hours, the person can
Yeah, see,
come,
I've never been like
the
that.
person can come, you know, 9 to 5, you're open Monday through Friday. It doesn't matter what, they can call, you'll be there for them those days. That would be an exalted planet there. A debilitated planet, they got to call you on the phone and say, "Are you going to be in town this week?"
That's exactly right. That's what they do too.
That's a debilitated planet in that house.
Okay.
So the ideals, it's not particularly a bad thing all the time. It just shows the ideals, and it's relative to where it is in the chart.
So what would you say for a debilitated Saturn in the fourth house?
In the fourth house, this is your office. You tell us about it.
Oh, it's good.
It's good?
But see, I haven't entered the Saturn daksha, so maybe things will change then.
Nah, it should be good. Should be good situation. Yeah. You'll office-wise, because Saturn doesn't give a very good office just in general. You know what I mean? He gives you a pretty small little cubicle kind of reality. Jupiter, Moon, they give you a plush, nice office. Venus there gives you a good windows to have a nice view in your office. These kind of things. Saturn, he generally seeks you in a small cubicle anyway, so it's a rough situation. Nietzsche Jupiter is generally not the cleanest of situations, but Nietzsche Saturn. That's what I mean. So it's not the best, not the cleanest of situations. It's kind of small. But because it's in the Dashamsha, you should be able to be, successful and make some good business deals from your office, and make some good transactions and types of things happen.
So right now it's nice, clean, and quite
Yeah.
good.
Small though.
No, not small. I mean, average size.
Average size. What's average size?
What are the size?
But it's a cube. It's a cube.
So it's like I like the place. It's like an open air, like lots of light, and it's more like Venus rather than.
Do you have a Venus aspect or anything of that nature? What's? Hold on, it's. This is
Mars.
the 8th. Trine with Mars.
But it has a Jupiter aspect from.
Has a
10th.
Jupiter
Yeah,
aspect.
Jupiter's in the 10th.
But this is how.
Yeah.
Okay. So the third is our time off, the time we take vacations. The fourth is the actual office. The fifth house is it's the 8th from the 10th. So it's transition and change of jobs. It's also from the Lagna, it's the 5th house, which is children, right? Who are children at work?
Students.
Students?
Me.
No, the employees.
Oh, for students.
People that report to
The
you.
employees.
Oh, yeah.
People, not employees. They're your assistants.
Oh.
Employees we're going to see from the 6th house. Those who serve us, they're like, below us, that we tell what to do. People that are our 5th house, they're like our children. They're the ones that we're working alongside with. We're helping them. They're helping us. It's a more assisted, subordinate kind of role. It's not the actual employees that you just send out to the job or something of that nature. Slight differentiation, but it will, Now an interesting thing is, if this house is, good planets there, and the Lord is strong, it's going to show you'll have lots of subordinates, and good subordinates. The more subordinates you have, the more subordinates you start to get. What's that mean for you?
Rise in status.
Rise in status, right? The more powerful someone is in the bank, the more assistants they have, correct? The lower they are, the less assistance they have. So this is what we see from the 5th house. If it's strong, they have more assistance, more help, and that means that they have a higher position. So, and the more they start to get, every change that happens, they're getting higher and higher in Ras. If there's malefic planets there, it shows tough time with subordinates. It shows a lot of times, malefics there show people who get fired from jobs.
In this
Malefics in the
Weak Lord in the 5th.
in the fifth.
Malefics there.
What if it's the Karaka, like the sun? I have the sun in Leo in the 5th.
That's a good combination.
It's a malefic.
But look at the situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is
Integrate everything that we've studied, all the strength rules, everything, and house rules, and Leo in the 5th house in its own sign, with Sun and Leo in the 5th house, its own sign. Looks good to me, right?
That seems really strong.
Yeah.
Looks like she can have the ability to rise pretty high in her career, right? When it comes time for a job change, do you think she loses her job, or do you think she gets a promotion?
She gets a promotion.
She gets a promotion.
K2's there.
Okay, so K2 will bring a... Huh?
And Mercury.
And Mercury. So there's mixed indications at different situations. I have Saturn there. What do you think happens?
You lose
You
your
get
Get
job,
fired.
and you get another job. Ever since I've known you, you say,
No,
"Well, I'm
you do
working
hard
here.
work.
Oh, I'm working over there.
You work
Oh, I
hard
quit my
work.
job."
You do hard
You
work.
grunt
Laboring.
work.
Oh, it's Saturn.
Grunt work.
No, that's not this house. This is not the house for that, to look at what
Saturn,
kind of
a
work.
lot of heavy labor.
No, but that's not the fifth house. Fifth house doesn't show what kind of work you do.
What
It's
else is-
exalted.
Oh, it's
Oh,
exalted.
So you don't
Oh,
make any
Saturn's
money.
exalted in
Mm. So what's that mean?
You don't make any money out of it.
make exalted changes.
No, you're
You get a better job.
skillful
Great
and powerful
assistant.
with
When I
subordinates.
quit the job, I quit a job to get a better job. And my last time quitting, I went, and you know, it's something. Remember what I said? I said, you want to go for a job, go on the day of the 10th Lord. You can't go on the day of the 10th Lord, go on the hour of the 10th Lord. So I went to tell my boss I was going to quit. I was kind of done the job. And my only mistake was, I did it on the day of the 10th Lord. If I did it on the day of the 5th Lord, I would have been able to quit. If I told him on Friday that I quit, I would have been able to leave and get a better job. Somewhere else. I'm kind of tired of what I'm doing right now. I'm over it. But I didn't. I told him on a Thursday, which is good for career. So I told him, and he offered me a raise, and he offered an assistant. So now I got an assistant and a raise. So that's what happens when you try and quit on a Thursday, my Thursday, the day of the 10th Lord. It made me rise up in my career. If I would have tried to quit on the day of the 5th Lord, which is transformation, I would have been successful.
I mean, on a Friday.
Yeah.
Does that principle work for like everything? If like a person wants to like move into like a new house, would they do it on
Fourth
the day
Lord.
of the 4th Lord?
4th Lord or Saturday. Saturday is specific for moving into new houses.
Oh,
Oh, is it really?
I mean, if they're like looking for a house
If they're looking to buy a house,
or
the
looking
4th
to
Lord,
like, if I need a room.
if they're going to buy a house, you're going to go see a house to rent, or the first day to give the rent to the landlord to make that house yours, day of the 4th Lord.
Day of the 4th Lord.
Yeah.
Or okay.
Would that apply to a new vehicle?
It would apply to a new vehicle.
Fourth Lord?
If you're going to go buy a new car, do it on the day of the 4th Lord. Won't fail you. Except in my situation, I was trying to quit. And instead it got me a better position in the, better deal, but it can be done. So, 5th house is change of jobs, and it's how we change the job. Whether we get fired, or whether we change the job by getting promoted. Good planets, strong planets there, get us promoted. Negative planets, weak planets, get us demoted. Or kicked out.
Kicked out.
6th house is the house of service. It's the jobs we work for. So Jupiter there, the best jobs you're going to have are working for educational institutions, working for religious groups, any of the significations of Jupiter. Find a company to work for that has the significations of Jupiter. It has some Jupiterian attribute. Even like a school for children, Jupiter's children. So you'll do so good working in a school with children because Jupiter's in the 6th house. If you're going to do service work, go with the planet that's in the 6th house. Then we got the 7th house. That's the business. If you're going to go into business for something, for the planet connected to that house. What's your 7th Lord?
In my Rashi?
Yeah. No, in your
Sagittarius.
So Jupiter again. So if you wanted to do business, you would do it in some Jupiterian way. Exactly. Do you see how we're utilizing this? Now
All
that
the significations of Jupiter.
one of the a business relative to those significations, definitely.
I'm sorry, I missed why Jupiter?
Because that's the Lord of that. There's no planet there. He has no planet in the 7th, so we go for the Lord.
You said that with the 6th too.
Standard, yeah, but he has Jupiter placed there.
Oh, okay.
Standard rule, planet there takes predominance. If there's no planet, use the sun. It's the standard rule. There's always something in a house.
So if you had Rahu there, you could possibly do some kind of work with poisons or medicines. Or
Mm-hmm.
So if you had
Poisonous
Mercury there, you
medicines
could work
particularly.
for an educational institution, but maybe higher, not children, but grown-ups?
Yeah.
College?
More college, teenage area.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll talk about the types of education the planets represent in the D24 if we get there. Okay. Yeah, but the significations, we're going along that line. But in the same way, so we saw that for him, service is good with Jupiter. But now we want to look at his 11th from Aruda Lagna. What planets are there?
11th, Sun.
Sun. So Sun shows, powerful people, authority. So it'd be good to go for a government position, working with children. Something, a government-run school.
Interesting.
Like this. You see how we've integrated the two?
Right.
Because the government's going to give you the most money. You got that Sun there. They're going to give you the money.
The Board of Education.
If you go work for a bunch of hippie spiritualists, you won't make any money.
It irritates me too.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? We have to make sure don't work for people who aren't going to make you money.
Right.
Work for people who make you money. So we see the Sun and we see what you're good at working at, what's going to be beneficial for you to work. And we utilize those two and we put it together.
So I guess a question of right livelihood. I mean, that's something we have a privilege
Mm-hmm.
to over here in the United States. And so how do you determine what is a person's, what's their, they have this, what's my parachute look like?
Colors your parachute.
Yeah.
what colors?
What color is my parachute?
Parachute.
It's a book called What Colors Your Parachute.
Oh, I
It's
don't-
about Canada.
Yeah, it's like how to
It's very famous.
Yeah. This guy tells you how to find out what your true calling is and all this. It's kind of nonsense because then you get all feeling like you're really important if you're quit your job at Taco Bell and go to work at a real taqueria.
Any which way. This is what we utilize. We got a lot to cover, so.
Alright, I'm sorry.
8th house. 8th house, if you're in business, shows insurance. Insurance. One, it's a Marika house to business. I mean, what business doesn't complain about how much they have to pay for insurance for their employees? It's the end of career in general. 8th house. This is like a retirement kind of house. It's also the house of loans. Because as the second house to business, it's also that which supports loans. As the 11th house from the 10th, it's also that which enables the business to make money. So the 8th house shows loans. Beneficial planets here show loans that are supporting the business to allow it to prosper. Malefic planets there show loans that will make a business suffer as well as a business that is constantly going into debt. If a business has malefics there and they're debating about getting a loan, definitely advise against it. If a business has benefics there, strong benefics, and they want to take a loan out because they want to expand, and advise them to do it. The loan will be beneficial. So we look at that house to see how good or how bad loans are. All these significations. 9th house is the father. Who's your father at work?
Your boss.
The boss. So the 9th house shows the boss. Malefic's there?
Mean boss.
Mean boss. Bad boss.
Bad cop.
Venus, Mars conjunct there?
Yeah.
Venus, Mars conjunct with Rahu there?
Womanizing.
Sexual harassment.
Sexual harassment. Right?
Saturn and Mercury in a mercurial sign there.
Jewish
A
boss.
gay boss.
A gay boss.
A Jewish boss. A Jewish gay
A gay
boss.
But in this way, all these combinations we can be using again and again and again once we understand them. We talked about the 10th house. That shows any planet in the 10th house. If we go along that line, we'll find success. in career-wise, making money-wise. And that's relative to the field that we're practicing in. 11th house is gains made in careers, bonuses. It's also colleagues, because that's one of the houses of friends. So that shows the people you work with. Benefics there show bonuses. So, for example, someone was talking to me, they were debating between a job where they could either make, it was something like, they could make $64,000 a year, or they could make $57,000 plus a $15,000 bonus at the end of the year. Something like that. Now, if you see malefics in that house, should they go with the bonus?
No.
Benefics in that house, should they go with the job that gets the bonus?
Yeah.
Because the bonuses depends on how well they do, how the performance. So if there's malefics there, they should avoid doing a job that, it's better to make sure that they just get that guaranteed salary versus relying on the bonus.
What if Rahu's there and it's in Aquarius?
It's definitely a shady planet.
Always? I mean, can't it have some positive...
Sometimes it'll be positive, sometimes it won't be. If it's...
Like it would be like exports or foreign...
Yeah, but this is the house of bonuses. This is
getting a
bonuses and
bonus
this is
from a
colleagues.
foreign- Okay,
So that's going to show a lot of foreign colleagues,
Mhm.
colleagues that aren't from this country.
right.
The person will work with a lot of at your office you have a lot of Chinese and Thai and all, a lot of foreign colleagues. Okay, that's rough. Huh? Might have some deceitful and shysters,
Now, if Rahu is just benefically aspected, or
If it's
With
benefically aspected, then it's going to be always. It'll be much better.
Okay.
If it's benefically aspected, it's going to show foreigners that'll help you a whole lot. If it's malefically aspected, it'll show some shysters.
Okay.
So we always get the fine tuning in that way.
If you have Jupiter and Mars there, would you think you'd have good and bad?
Jupiter and Mars are going to be good together. Mars is hanging out with Jupiter, so he's going to behave himself. Yeah. Definitely good and definitely some nice bonuses. What sign?
It's in Gemini.
Gemini. So.
So will Mars drag Jupiter down a little bit? Make him
It'll drag Jupiter down a little bit. Like the bonuses won't be as good, but the negatives of Mars won't be as bad. So how's the place? What's the sign of Mercury in
Mercury is
in the Dashamsha?
8th house in Pisces.
It's in Pisces, so it's debilitated. So we're gonna get monetarily it'll be good, but the colleagues will definitely, as we spoke before, they'll get the bonuses.
That's
What-
exactly how it was in my office.
What
too.
they do to get the bonuses, let's just not talk about it.
It's true.
Okay. So, but do you see how we're utilizing every house? And I got a nice chart for you here to make it nice and easy. It's a picture chart, right? Everybody likes pictures.
It's beautiful.
12
There were more of them.
It could have colors.
Oh, they're
It's not the only one.
12th house.
12th house. Liability.
Leave of absence, time
Expense.
This is when you take time off because of workers' compensation, or these are, these kind of problems that happen. It's time off, but it's not time off like your third house is time off.
That you wanted to.
You're gonna take a vacation and go somewhere, so you take this time off. It's a nice. And eighth house is retirement kind of time off. 12th house is, you cut your finger off and you can't work for a while. What's going on with that? Huh?
This is not fun. Well, it does affect my ability to do my job, though.
Can't type as fast. You gotta. So malefics there definitely. If you have a job, if you are working in a place like, for example, so Gail now has a job where she's working in the solar power industry, and let's say she was in a position where she could choose who they were hiring to install these things on the roof. That's a position where people can fall off, hurt themselves, and then workers' compensation make the company. If so if you had the ability and you were picking an employee and you saw that they had malefics there, especially even if the sign was Sagittarius, because Sagittarius rules falling, or Saturn also rules falling. If either of those was there, because of your job, they're working on the roof. That's a very dangerous. You don't want them working for the company,
Right.
because that's somebody who has the karma to fall and get workers' compensation to be off of work because they fell.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Mars, some type of accident happened that hurt them. Venus, they generally like. Is Luna still here? No. Luna was in a situation where they were downscaling, and so they let her go, but they let everybody go with these really big bonuses, and she got the insurance of the company paid for her to go to massage school. They paid for the re-education of the people they let go to get other jobs. So that would be a case, most likely she has a benefit in that 12th house.
I have Venus there.
Uh-huh. So so it's in this way we can interpret it. First house, that shows the person. It shows their ideals relative to work. The Lagna Lord of that house will show what their concept, their idealism with work is. Anybody want to share anybody have an exalted Navamsha Lagna Lord? No, Dashamsha Lord, sorry.
Saturn.
You have an exalted
Libra.
Saturn?
In the first house.
So idealistic, huh?
Yeah, I got a job. I tried to get a job with I got a job with a vegan food manufacturer, helped the planet, got screwed, started my own business.
Whether it's good or bad is another thing. It's what your ideals are,
Right, I try to do something that helps the planet.
Yeah.
Solar energy, wireless communications for
So
remote
is that the
areas.
result of an exalted planet? He wants to help out?
It's just making your idealistic.
Idealistic. Yeah, I always have
Oh.
high ideals. When I get there, I get really disappointed.
What about a
Oh,
planet
right.
in its own house?
Planet's own house, it's above average.
Okay.
Has good ideals. Planet that's Nietzsche, they'll work for whoever they can to make that most possible money. Doesn't matter what they're doing. They'll do anything. It's just a matter of the money.
Ever consider being in the screw business?
In the screw business.
Second house. Start a new business. Starting a new business. Money for business. Wealth, finance. In general, it's the second house, so it shows money and that kind of stuff. It's also the fifth house from the 10th, showing the planning. Fifth house always shows planning, speculation. So it's that money that the person is speculating, like to start a new business. Most of us know, if we've ever thought about it, that it's a lot of money to start up a business. A lot of money. The rent and you need to make so much a month to cover everything, and the advertisement, and so this is seen from the second house. So benefics and malefics we can understand from here. Very simple. D10, right? Very important.
With the second house,
We go back to the Rashi. Yeah. Rashi's money coming, it actually comes to us, it's in our life. It comes out of the job, but we make it. So we're looking more in the Rashi for that reality of it.
What about the horror chart? Did we look at that?
We'll get that in a little
Next.
bit.
Okay, never mind.
Not next, but
Never mind.
soon enough. And we'll go into all the different aspects of money.
So in other words, we're not really reading these charts like the birth chart.
Exactly. But yet we're using all the rules that we learn about the birth chart yet. We're using them based on that specific area of life.
So we can't like use.
So we know
all
that the
of-
second
yeah.
house, is about sustenance, right? So this chart is only about business. What's sustenance in business? Money.
Mm.
It's not food. Second house is not food here. It's only money. Then we read it from the Lagna, and then we read it from the 10th house. 10th house, it's the 5th. The second's the 5th from the 10th.
Second is the 5th from the.
So it's the planning of the 10th house. It's the planning of career. So it's the planning of career, it's the sustenance of the native at work. So it's money and it's planning. It's the money for starting new businesses and things of that nature. The 3rd house, we read it from the Lagna, short journeys. We read it from the 10th house. It's the 6th from it. So 6 is not working. It's some friction stopping work. Something that's blocking it. 3rd from the Lagna, it's the native traveling. So this shows, so we integrate the houses from the Karaka Bhava with the houses from the Lagna, and through that integration we understand what it means in that particular area of life. Easy, yeah? Has to be understood. Once we get to the D24, you'll see it's if you don't get it yet.
Well, right.
I've heard some people say, teachers say that, like if you have a planet aspecting its own house, it's the opposite from it, that doesn't apply in birth charts.
We were just we saw in his chart, Rahu trining aspecting gave him a business during Rahu Dasha.
So aspects are just as strong.
You saw it.
Yeah.
We all saw it just now, right? It works. When we were looking at the second house of the Navamsha, if Venus or Mars has even an aspect, the person has a moment of unfaithfulness during that dasha. We saw it work. Who can tell us that aspects don't work? Parashara uses them. If he's talking about, drishti from Karakamsha, drishti from Karakamsha is drishti in the Navamsha only. Karakamsha is only in the Navamsha. Okay. That clears that, right? So who says what is besides the point. What we've seen and what the Parashara, what's being utilized. Huh?
Page 21.
Just as we're getting into the hard stuff, she comes in. She wants to make this tough, huh? Okay, next page, 22. The Shamsha Lagna Lord we spoke about. So looking at the 10th Lord of the Rashi in the D10 shows how we apply our consciousness to work. And as we saw, Luna, for example, who finds every way to be on vacation. Her 10th Lord from the Rashi is in the 3rd house of the Dashamsha. Now you understand how she's applying her consciousness to get vacations. Right? Everybody understand why, as soon as she said that, how I could interpret that. So we see which of these houses the 10th Lord is in, and we see where the consciousness is being applied the most. Is it being applied on making the loans? Is it being applied on, where is it being applied? Myself, my is in the 10th house. The 10th Lord goes to the 10th house. So the 10th house is work itself. So it's just, making the career happen. And it's Jupiter. So within that significations of teaching, learning, knowledge. Okay? Simple, yeah? Simple?
I'm trying to understand it in my own chart. And
Your 10th Lord?
The 10th Lord is in the 4th house.
Your Rashi 10th Lord?
Rashi 10th Lord is in the 4th house of the Samsha chart.
What's the which planet? Say the Rashi 10th
Jupiter.
Lord is Jupiter, is in the
4th house. in
4th house.
Capricorn.
So
In the D10. So am I spending a lot of time in my office?
No, you're putting the consciousness is being applied to the office.
Okay.
So that's, and from what I even know of you, you're in the office till late at night sometimes.
Yeah, I'm in the office a lot. Yeah.
So
Spend my time there working.
yeah. So there's constant. The energy is being put into the office. It's constantly at the office, but at least it's Jupiter.
Yeah.
So the office is not that bad of a place.
Yeah, it's not
Jupiter or Saturn?
Jupiter.
I mean, imagine if your 10th Lord in the Rashi was Saturn and it was in an enemy sign, then you'd be stuck all the time in a small little cubicle, and
Exactly.
yeah. So,
Imprisoned.
but so do you see?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay.
Everyone else, pretty simple rules, right? And that's a rule that applies in every Varga chart. Where the Karaka Bhavan from the Rashi, that Lord, sitting in the Varga chart. So that's just for career. We can see the 7th Lord in the Rashi, see where that's placed in the Navamsha. All these we can apply. Same rule. It's a basic general principle.